I said, who out of anybody in the whole world, who would I want to do a portrait for? And as a red-blooded American, I said the president. It was President Barack Obama, and I spent 6 months creating a portrait, without ever having any guarantee that I would even be able to show it to him, let alone present it to him.
Hey everybody, what's up? My name is Christian Alva, and today I'm super excited because this is the first episode of my new podcast called the ROYLT Podcast. Royalty is spelled ROYLT, and essentially it's an acronym for rest of your life's time. And so it's really about interviewing and talking to different types of people that have success in their life and really what they're doing with the rest of their life's time from the beginning of their time on this planet and their hardships and things like that. And in today's episode, it's called Every Setback is a Setup for Your Reign. And I think it's very fitting for today's guest, Mr. AJ Brockman, who I got introduced to roughly about a year ago. And I started doing some research on him, and I'm like, dude, I have to really get this guy on for an interview and put him out there because I don't think he gets enough attention. And by the way, AJ, I've read that you're a very humble dude and you like the attention, but you're not bragging about yourself. So I wanted to put the spotlight on you today and really hear about your story. So introduce yourself and give us the story from the stuff I read from back in the day about becoming this digital artist and the hardships and things, and then also where that has transformed into today.
Absolutely, Christian. So again, brother, really honored to be here and really honored to be the first guest, man. I think royalty really resonates with me, and we'll jump right in. So as you may be able to see, I'm in a wheelchair. So again, my name is AJ Brockman, and I was born with a neuromuscular condition called spinal muscular atrophy. And what that is basically a very long-term ALS. A lot of people may be familiar with Lou Gehrig's disease or ALS. But again, I'm a quadriplegic with full feeling, and as a kid, my muscles just never developed. So again, it's an issue with the protein of the muscles, but that never held me back, man. And about living your life with what time you have left, I had to do that as a kid. The doctors told my family that I wouldn't live past the age of 2. And so I was a fighter from day one, man. And my mom and dad were really supportive. My mom was a nurse, so that really helped me, from the medical side. And then my dad owned his own business, and really taught me, from a young age, how to be independent, even with all the limitations I had. So I went into a power wheelchair at the age of 2, which again is crazy. It was one of the youngest recipients of a power wheelchair in the entire country at the time. And yeah, I mean, I was running into walls and denting up as a terrible toddler, terrible twos, but I really was able to mature quickly, and I think that also has helped me in my life, where I had to use my brains and my people skills and all the advantages I did have to be successful. And so even as a kid, I was really academic. I loved school. I was really trying to learn as much as I could. Um, Throughout middle school, I still had the use of my hands, so I was able to paint a little bit, paint and draw. Fell in love with art then. And I still had a life outside of that as well. Like I was hanging out with all the neighborhood kids. We were surfing and skateboarding here in South Florida. And although I couldn't do that, I participated in my own way. So like they would hang on the back of my chair and drive down the street and go up a ramp like as a little golf cart or whatever. But so again, I mean, I had a really fulfilling life even as a kid. Um, and I used to even, film and make skateboard videos with all my buddies. So And then, as my disease progressed, I had to figure out a way that I could still be a productive person, and live a fulfilling life. And I thought, I love art. Obviously, the stigma of a starving artist is unfortunately pretty true. But at the time, I really fell in love with commercial art. So doing, logos, websites, art that still let me be creative, but could still pay the bills. So I started my first business when I was about 14, and I didn't even put my age on the resume. And I worked for a local print shop here again in South Florida, doing logos and designs. Early on. So that really just kind of gave me that entrepreneurial spirit. Um, I ended up going to college for digital art and design, and graduated valedictorian with a Bachelor of Fine Arts. And funny enough, one of my professors actually hired me out of college. So I was working in the commercial art world, since I was 14. And that really, it was fulfilling for me, and I loved it, but there was still something missing. And I think the thing is like when you make your hobby or your passion a job, it can be a double-edged sword. And so although I loved it and although I was really successful, I still wasn't really able to do art for myself. And I made a really tough decision one day. I went into my boss and said, almost at the pinnacle of my career, in terms of, the commercial side, and I quit. And I said, I'm going to focus on my own art now, and really try to become a professional artist in the fine art world, doing digital paintings. So I use the computer mouse as a paintbrush, and do, with Photoshop and Corel Painter portraits. And that's really what I love. So when that happened, I said, who out of anybody in the whole world, who would I want to do a portrait for? And as a red-blooded American, I said the president. So regardless of your political views, at the time it was President Barack Obama, and I spent 6 months creating a portrait, without ever having any guarantee that I would even be able to show it to him, let alone present it to him. And I knew that if I did a really amazing job and put my heart and soul into it, that it would get the attention it deserves. And I think that's another kind of life lesson is, if you do things for the right reason without focusing on the fame or the money or things like that, then usually things work out for you. And that is exactly what happened. So I showed the portrait to one of our local congressmen, and he had a connection with the Obama family. And in 2012, I was actually able to give him this portrait. And what made it unique was it was the only family portrait with the dog Bo in it. So he had a Labradoodle named Bo, and he was in the portrait, and that's what really captured his attention. So and then that I met him here in South Florida, and that picture went on Air Force One and was sent. What he told me was it was going to go in one of their personal libraries in the White House. So again, it was an amazing experience. He was a man of his word because the next day, you saw the portrait being carried on to Air Force One, and then that picture was from Damon Winters, one of the White House press photographers. The picture of my portrait going on Air Force One was like one of the top pictures in the New York Times for 2012. So really amazing stuff. That really set my career off. And yeah, man, that was the early days of me as an artist. And you know, um, uh, it was just something that really helped me scale. And I was doing portraits for $10,000 a piece after that. So
Wow. Wow. AJ, let me, I just pulled up right now the
yeah,
the picture with the picture you did with the president holding it. I'm gonna bring that up. Give me 1 second.
Yeah, brother.
While I'm doing that too, while you're talking about the kids in your neighborhood, I just remembered that I read somewhere, and let me know if this is true or if not, that early on in the days with your buddies, you were also playing hockey and you were basically a goalie. Is that true?
That is true, Christian. Yeah, man, you did your research, bro. So yeah, I again I maybe got a little ahead of myself from the early years, but yeah, man, I actually was also a roller hockey goalie. So all my buddies were playing roller hockey, and obviously I wanted to play, but I wasn't able to use the stick or shoot goals. So I said, hey, what if I was the goalie? And so my coach and my mom and dad they fashioned this apparatus around my chair, and I suited up just like any other goalie would. And yeah, man, we were in the net, and I played for about a year. Obviously it got harder and harder, and once as I got older, the kids got a lot better, and could just shoot the puck over my head. But it was fun while it lasted, and we ended up getting second place that year that I was the goalie. So pretty amazing. It was a great team building experience, for all of us. So yeah, man, that's funny. You 100% did your research, bro. Yeah,
And the reason why I brought that up, besides it being astonishing to me, is that I actually play hockey still to this day. Um,
amazing, bro.
yeah, I started out in ice, and then was my family is basically poor, and so my mom was like, you could play 1 season ice or like 3 seasons of roller. Which one do you want to do? I'm like, easy choice, 3 seasons of roller, you
For
know?
sure.
So I've been playing roller now for, well, since basically '94. So it's been a long time. And when I read that, I'm like, man, me and AJ have more things in common than I even thought, you know?
Yeah, man. Totally. And I think you can find a YouTube video out there somewhere. They did a documentary on me for I think one of the PBS channels. So there you go. There's some yeah, those are the deep cuts, man. You find little AJ on YouTube. So
I'm gonna
but yeah, and this is it, man. This is the portrait. So this is actually the artist proof that I gave and he signed that for me, and I have that. But the real portrait again, obviously it's a digital, but I print it out on canvas, and that one is about the size of my whole chair. So
oh,
that's the one that went on Air Force One. But yeah, there's a Obama, me, and my mom. You got to bring your mom when you meet the president. You have to bring your mom. That's like an unspoken rule. So there you go. Yeah.
so cool, man. Like AJ, I you know, I before I got introduced to you, I never heard of AJ Brockman, right? And I always feel like there are some people in this world. I mean, everybody knows like Gary Vee, Grant Cardone, and some of these other big people, but it's like you would think that people like you would be more, elevated of being known and things like that. And so I always just find it like so cool to see these different little tidbits of success and transformations of people, throughout their life and their careers. And it's like, and there's always this really cool story behind not only the person, but the thing that they got success from or had success from, like this print or this picture that you did, just is so fascinating. I mean, not many people get to meet the president every day, AJ.
No doubt, Christian. No, that means a lot, man. And I've lived my life being as humble as I can and just really trying to, back to the whole point of this podcast. It's really just about living your life to the fullest. And I have a bunch of tattoos, and one of my tattoos says "Carpe Diem," to seize the day, and that really has something I've lived my life by. And people ask me all the time, like, what is my superpower? Or how do I do it? How do I overcome? All the limitations. And the short answer really is just a positive attitude, man. I really have never let anything hold me back. Obviously, we all have bad days. We all get sad. We all get depressed. We all get defeated. But, you wake up the next morning, and as long as you wake up, it's a good day, bro. And that really, again, is such a great ethos of what you're trying to highlight about, making the best of the time that we have here, no matter what it makes. And I don't say that like, to diminish what I've accomplished, but I say that to empower everybody else that if I can do it, anybody can do it, and that really is the truth. I mean, again, the positive mindset, you can move mountains for sure.
100%.
Yeah,
What you've been saying just struck a chord in me about the different milestones you've achieved in your life. And number one, I do believe what you just said, that it all kind of really stems from this gratitude that you have, waking up every day positive. And we are going to go through hurdles and trials and tribulations, things of that nature, but it's really how you react to all those things is how you're going to really uh, you know become better in life. And with that
absolutely.
and with that being said, let's talk about something that I believe a lot of people don't really realize that is a big thing to get them to the next level, and that is momentum. And I personally feel, AJ, like in order for me to like keep getting to the next level, I gotta build up this momentum to get there. Because I feel like if I don't have momentum, I'm not going anywhere, right? So for you, if at least from what you said so far in your story, how has the momentum been built for you, or what has it really done for you? And do you really believe in what I'm saying? Like, do you believe momentum is a factor to get you to where you are today?
Yeah, absolutely, Christian. That's a great question, bro. And I think, a lot of people say luck or, your big break. I mean, I think it's a lot it's hard to kind of pinpoint into one thing. I think it's a culmination of all of that. I think that, passion, drive, momentum, getting a lucky break, again, and the more that you do it, you kind of create your own luck. I'm a big believer in that for sure. And not to get too hippy dippy, but it is also like, about a manifestation and really seeing the future and visualizing what you want to accomplish. And that has been a big motivator for me. Again, I mean, obviously, I think it's healthy to overshoot some of your goals, and if you land, a little bit short, you're still in a good spot. But to your point, man, yeah, I think as long as you're accomplishing, even little goals, that helps build your confidence and to use your word, momentum, into the future. And that is really what it's been for me. I've taken every milestone of my life, bit by bit. So, like I said, being able to, film my buddy skateboarding, create videos from that, then do, video premieres from that, then getting into art, then meeting, graduating valedictorian, it's little milestones at a time that really boost your confidence and momentum. And then you get the big break, which was me, meeting Obama and getting that opportunity, adding that to my resume and repertoire. And then after that, it's also once you have the momentum, you can't really give up. And I think that people get comfortable and they say, all right, well, I had my big break, I'm making money, I'm happy, I'm living a fulfilling life, and that's it. Well, for me, I never press the brake. So I'm always in go mode. And after Obama, I actually opened my own art gallery. Again, with the success I had there, and the landlord at the time of who we were leasing from, she loved what we were doing, and we were in a really progressive part of the town that was going under some real revitalization. And she didn't really want to be a landlord anymore, and so she actually held paper for us on the entire plaza, which again, I didn't have $1 million in the bank. We made it work. Like, I said, hey, will you hold paper and be the bank? And she said, yeah, let's do it. So you can't be afraid to ask for things. And that's another thing that's made me really successful. Like, I'm not afraid to ask for help. And, I think that's a real, especially with entrepreneurship, you feel like you're too good for that. And that's never been the case. I mean, again, my mom has been a huge help to me. She helped me run all the businesses while I was scaling. And, even like I said, this landlord, Sue Ellen, was a big supporter in my life. And just one thing after another. And before I knew it, we we had an entire city block. We owned the shopping center with about 30 different tenants, worth, almost 5 million bucks. So it was really, really cool to be able to scale into that. And rely on family too. I realize some people may not have family, and that's okay. But find your family, surround yourself with like-minded people, just because they're not related by blood, it's really important to have, a support system as well. So yeah, man. So I know it was a lot to go over, but you got me excited, bro. And that really is it. I agree with everything you said.
We're dropping. I mean, in the crypto world, it's called alpha. In the non-crypto world, might be called bombs. But I mean,
Yes.
we are just dropping some information, and it might not seem from the average person or the person not with a keen ear, I should probably say, that what this all just sounds like regular stuff. Like everybody says, do this. I see Gary Vee talking about surround yourself with a blah 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 with the correct people. But you know what? It's entirely true because if you are hanging around, let's. I always like to kind of go to the opposite route and
Yeah.
from the different perspective or the opposite perspective, AJ. I like to say, just think about the opposite. If you are surrounding yourself with people that are bad people, liars, cheaters, stealers, people that are just negative, those kind of people, like, do you really believe that you are going to become successful or even just live a happy life being around those types of people? you know and
Totally.
and for me, AJ, it's been my transformation from when, like about 20 years ago, or maybe a little longer than that. I used to be a person that I was hanging around the wrong kind of people, and that was totally affecting my outcome or my the energy going outwards and inwards as well. And it's like until I changed the people around me, that's when I started seeing this gigantic difference in my personal success. So
Yeah,
what you're saying, man, is like people don't like it's so simple, right? It's just the concept is simple. Surround yourself with good people, great people. Where it becomes hard is where people can't really leave those relationships, whether it's serious relationships, friend relationship, coworker relationships, and blah blah blah, because they have ties to those
for
people for
sure.
whatever reason. So,
Yeah.
man, go ahead.
Yeah, bro. No, Christian, I agree 1,000%, man. What I was just gonna add to that is, and you said it outright. Like people on the surface think that it's, stereotypical or just things that successful people say. But the key difference is when you start actually believing that and following through with that, that is when you see the big difference. So, everything that you said, bro, is 100% the case. It's just people have to do it. And to go back to the crypto analogy, like we say it all the time, do your own research, but nobody ever does. And so again, like if you're trying to be a successful entrepreneur and really build a long-term success, you have to have the fundamentals in place of, a good support system, not afraid to ask for help, surround your people or surround yourself with people that are helping you move forward, not holding you back, and that is so important.
100%. And the whole thing about asking for help, that was. Do you know who Michael Burnoff is by any chance, AJ?
That name sounds super familiar. Yeah,
So, and by the way, anybody listening or watching this podcast, this is totally unscripted. I told AJ I want you to hop on and we're just gonna chat. And so
totally,
everybody that's here listening, watching, you're gonna get some alpha from re-listening to this and other content, whoever puts it out there, by just listening to it over and over and over again. But this person, AJ, Michael Burnoff, I met for the first time at a business conference in Vegas. And he basically is this really tall guy, and he's successful in his own ways. He's basically a communication expert, okay? And the first time I met him, I was just so like, I'm like, this guy is magical. And he was on stage and he says, raise your hand if you have a question about business, whatever, I can answer it for you, blah, blah, blah. This guy in front of me stands up, gets the mic, stands up, and he goes, blah, 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 blah. I mean, what he asked was basically irrelevant, AJ. And Michael, who's probably about 100 feet from where he is, on top of stage, really tall, he has a microphone. He's like, so what's wrong with your leg? And I'm sitting in the back of this guy, I'm like, what is going on? Like he's asking about this business question, and Michael said, what's wrong with your leg? That was his response. And I'm like, and the crowd got so quiet, AJ, it was like you could hear a pin drop on the floor. And the guy proceeds to say, well, when I was a little kid, I was messing around in my dad's gym and a weight fell on me and crushed my leg. When I went to the doctors, they say I would never walk normally ever again, right? And so he basically had like a walking impediment for the rest of his life, right? And I'm sitting in the back, AJ, and I'm like, how did this guy standing on a stage about 100 feet away know that? The guy was not on crutches. He didn't have anything helping him stand up. He was just standing up. And I'm like, holy smokes. And so Michael goes, so your problem, your real problem that you're asking about, the real question you want answered is you've never been able to ask for help because you've always wanted to prove to the world that you don't need it.
100%, bro.
And
Yeah.
the guy was like, "You're right."
Yeah.
And then Michael proceeds to say, and this is coming full circle back to you, AJ. Raise your hand if you believe your business would be a lot better, a lot farther in life if you just asked for help, right? And I was shook, AJ.
Yes, bro.
I was like, this guy is a real life Jedi for real. Like,
Yeah.
how does he do it?
I
And
love it, Christian. Yeah.
and it
Yeah.
went on and on and on and on, person after person after person. AJ, I was just so amazed. So going back to you, asking for help is probably one of the biggest things that people could do if they get the courage to do it.
Yeah, no doubt, bro. And again, that sounds incredible. I got to look him up now. That you've told me that. So, but yeah, and again, just so one more note on that I think is important to distinguish is, I forget the quote, but it's more about asking for, a hand up rather than a hand out. And that I think also is important, especially when it comes to asking for help. You still have to have the drive and the willingness, to get it done. And then asking for help amplifies that. So, I think that is a really key point as well. And that's something too. It's very hard to teach somebody how to have drive. I do think that you have to have a little bit of that, inside of you. You have to be a self-starter. You have to have the passion. But when you start combining, all these little add-ons, to your point about being a Jedi, yeah, like you're adding all these upgrades to your character, and that is when you really start getting into, being ultra successful, and again, success is relative too. Like, I mean, I'm not on a yacht, I'm not I don't have 100 million in the bank, but it's about having being comfortable. Money can buy happiness when you apply it the right way. But there's way more things in life that I feel I'm successful with, and just even having a wife and kids. Like, I never thought, especially with my disability, which I don't say disability, I said different ability. I never thought I'd have that in my life, and so it's really just about always trying to make it happen, no matter how hard it is. Yeah.
Man, that is what you just said is just so inspirational, AJ, about what you said about, you when you were younger, you never thought you would have basically a family. And it's like just everybody watching this, listening to just think about that. Like if you're in AJ's position, like the mindset of when, you're younger or before or whatever it might be, it's like these mindsets could cause limitations in your life. And if you let them limit you, then you will be limited in life. And going back to what AJ was saying, is like you basically just gotta go break through those limitations. You gotta push through and consistently do it and upgrade, as AJ said. I thought that was a really powerful word, by the way, AJ's upgrade.
Yeah, bro, no doubt. Again, I know we're probably both gamers at heart, but it's about, and people, even the big guys say invest in your future self, with different courses or personal development, anything like that. And I am a believer in that. I mean, obviously, you don't want to be spending money you don't have, but if you really get value out of that, then it is important. And yeah, I mean, those little notches in your tool belt really help you grow. And even more recently, when I've transitioned to crypto full time now, I've learned a lot in that crypto journey that is just based on learning from your mistakes. I think that is something people overlook a lot, especially in an entrepreneurial setting. Like, fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice. Or fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. I think that there's so many things I've learned just from my mistakes. And as long as you actually take that to heart and don't get discouraged, because a lot of people think failure, is like the end of the road. And that isn't the case at all. I think failure is, a fork in the road, and you can, if you learn from that, again upgrade. I like that. We'll have to start using that more for sure. You upgrade your journey, and yeah, I know that, even for you from, as we've gotten to know each other over the last year, I know that you're always trying to find the next thing and learn from what worked and maybe not do what didn't work. And that's really powerful. Yeah.
100%. Let's let's briefly talk about, you mentioned that you had the paint gallery, and then I think you also mentioned about, you had, I don't know if you exactly mentioned about the concert hall, and then also I definitely know you didn't talk about the brewery, but you have had to me, a very interesting entrepreneurial journey, AJ, going from, being a little kid and tagging along with the friends, in your wheelchair and doing all that kind of stuff, to going to editing, and then, digital painting, and then meeting the president. And then there's part of the story that we haven't really discussed, which is, the whole concert hall or theater, I think it is, and the brewery and everything else. Like, how have you done all of this in such a limited amount of time, man? Because, like,
Yeah.
I feel like you're a Superman to me.
Yeah, totally, brother. I really appreciate that, bro. So yeah, the short answer is I don't get a lot of sleep, man. I'm luckily, sitting in the chair all day. I have a lot of brain power, don't have to worry about going to sleep. But yeah, so to answer the question, yeah, we after I had my big success with Obama, we opened an art gallery, and it was called Brewhouse Gallery. And I was also doing shows at the time, like art shows on the weekends, different festivals, different galleries of my own. And I thought, again, learning from what I saw that was wrong with the world, I wanted to make it better, and that's a big recurring theme in my life for sure. But um, a lot of the art galleries would take a giant commission every time that you sold your art, and the art galleries never had any foot traffic. So a lot of it was like, by appointment only, or some, rich client that comes in once a year and buys everything. So I said, let's flip that model on its head. And that was how we started Brewhouse Gallery, where we made the art gallery an actual fun place to go hang out. So we included uh craft beer. At the time, craft beer was a really up and coming market. And when people are there having a beer, then they really like the painting on the wall, and they spend the money and take it home. So that was really a fundamental difference in how galleries operated. And artists themselves. I had all my artist buddies, that were still broke, but were doing amazing art because the gallery would take the majority of the profit. So what we did is we did more of a co-op model where the artist would just pay a low monthly fee for the spots on the wall, and then they get 100% of everything that they sell. So it was a win-win for everybody because we're covering our rent from the wall space. We're making money on the beer, and then the artists are getting paid way more than they would anywhere else. So again, it's just about figuring out different mechanisms and infrastructure that benefit everybody more. Again, to go back to the whole quotation or mindset, it's like if you can provide value for somebody else, then the value will come back to you. And that really is the case, man. We live by that. So we not only do we have the gallery, but when we took over the whole plaza, there was a vintage movie theater that had fallen into disrepair. And when I was a kid, back in the 90s, it was a music venue. And so we actually revitalized the movie theater as the original music venue. It was called the Kelsey Club. They had huge names in the 90s, Korn, Limp Bizkit, some really big names. So, and again, that was in the heyday of alternative rock. But we revitalized it. We did a crowdfunding campaign. And so my mom would run the gallery during the day, and I would run the music venue next door at night, and that's really how we made it work for almost 6 years. And then when COVID hit, obviously it really impacted everything, and so we were able to sell the entire plaza right before that everything really went downhill. And with stimulus money, a lot of land developers were buying. We got again, that was definitely a little bit of luck. We sold at the top, and then I was able to focus back on the brew house, which is the gallery, and that's when we actually started making our own beer in the gallery. So again, Kelsey City Brewing was our own beer we made there as a nano brewery, and again, talk about little interesting connections. The brewmaster was actually my old Cub Scout leader. So I was in Cub Scouts, and I knew that this guy was really always into beer, and almost 20 years later, we actually went into business together. So you never burn a bridge either. That's something I've learned. Like you never know where the next opportunity might come from, or people that you've known for years may turn out to be an amazing part of your career. So that's also something that's been really important. But yeah, man, it's been a very diversified life so far, for sure.
Jeez, wow. And again, I read some of this stuff or seen other videos about this. That's why I know about it. But to hear you say it, on this call is,
Yeah,
I've even heard even more details now about it. So now, now your backdrop, AJ, has EMP, Honor versus Madness, Dex Finance, I believe, too. Logos behind on your backdrop. So
yes,
let's now transition because we're talking the beginning of AJ's story, right? Then the beer or the brewery and the theater and all that was kind of the middle, at least from what I recall.
100%.
And now AJ is basically really maybe 100% or maybe 99% just focused on his endeavors in the crypto space, which are the logos behind. So I'm gonna let AJ tell about that part of the story because this is how I got introduced to AJ was basically through the crypto stuff. And I'm just and the more I hear about you, AJ, the more I'm just like, dude, this guy is like so smart, especially with how you've turned around, your companies or your projects as they call them in crypto and made them into, something that really people thought that it was never going to come back from. So
Totally.
go for it, man.
Yeah, Christian, bro. And this again is something that really resonates with me on a personal level. Like, I've always had to adapt and overcome. And that is what I apply to all the business endeavors that I do. And so, yeah, to bring it, more into the present day, when COVID hit, it changed the world, man, and especially in the art and entertainment industry. I mean, people were not going out anymore. Nobody was going to concerts, and we couldn't just give up and die. We had to pivot. So, we did make the hard decision to close, that part of our lives, that chapter. And like I said, we sold the building, which allowed me to have some capital to go do other things. And all the while, I was really involved in crypto, even doing, we would, in the entertainment industry, your hours are from like, 5 p.m. at night to 4 in the morning. So during the day, I would learn about crypto, and I really fell in love for the same reason I was passionate about art. I really love the idea of decentralized finance, not having a middleman, being able to be in control of your own, assets. And that really is important because for the same reason, like technology gave me my independence, through, computers and being able to do my art. I believe that blockchain and crypto technology really gives you the financial independence. And so that is why, again, I went down the rabbit hole, just like all of you probably have that are in crypto, and really understand why it's such a fundamental difference. And I still to this day believe that it will change the world, and it is. I mean, we're seeing big institutions embrace this now. Real world assets (RWA) is moving into blockchain tech. So everything is really moving that way. But being full time crypto was great because now I had a family. I homeschool my children as well. So we were home and needing to still provide, and do it in a way that I didn't have to go to a 9 to 5, which is what a lot of us I think are hoping for, the Holy Grail. And that's not because we're lazy or we don't want to, go and work a job. But it's because, we want that freedom, and that I think is what really matters. So yeah, in 2014, again, right around the time with the portrait and starting the gallery, I had heard about Bitcoin, and watched some YouTube videos, got involved, and funny enough, gaming was always part of this journey as well. And the first crypto project I got involved in was a Web3 gaming project, and I was able to turn about $10,000 into over 1 million in the first run back in 20 what was that 2015 2016. So that really was really cool, and obviously when you can do that you get really excited about crypto, and so that definitely helped. And from then on, man, I put in my 10,000 hours just learning about crypto, learning about what to do, what not to do, getting scammed, getting rugged. I mean, I've probably lost hundreds of thousands for, as a learning experience on what not to do. Again, what I was saying earlier. Um, and I saw other people running projects, and I thought to myself, man, I could do such a better job managing this than they are. And one thing led to another, and that's when EMP started. So EMP is my first official protocol. It started as a Ethereum-based algorithmic coin, which was what they call a seniorage protocol, very similar to how U.S. dollars work, but applied to Ethereum. And so we learned that we had a lot of success in the beginning. At one point, we had over 50 million TVL 50. But we learned that it wasn't sustainable, and so rather than giving up and moving on, like all the majority of crypto projects do, we pivoted and moved to a much more sustainable model called EMP Fusion. And that's what we're doing now, where again, it's essentially getting exposure to Ethereum while all the other things that we build. So I've always been a builder. I've surrounded myself again, to what I was saying earlier, with people I can trust and that help me, be even more productive. And we've built some amazing products. So we have EMP now, EMP Fusion, Dex Finance, which is a yield farming protocol. Again, not to get too much in the weeds. And then Universe Madness, which again, back to my roots, is a Web3 game. So just like I did with Splinterlands, which was the first game I really was successful in as a participant, we're launching our own now. So and even with that, we've learned a lot from what Splinterlands did right, and maybe some things they did wrong, and we're improving on that. So yeah, bro, it's been a wild ride, and the next journey is even more hectic than the beginning, but we're excited for all that for sure.
Jeez Louise, AJ. It's like, what aren't you gonna do is probably like one of the biggest questions that everybody has, especially me. I
Yeah.
mean, did you ever think that you were gonna get into the, for lack of a better term, technology space and creating a business slash protocol and doing that? I mean, it's like, and you brought up a very interesting thing that I believe a lot of people don't realize about themselves. Because you're not a coder, right, AJ?
Correct, bro. Yeah, 100%.
But because you have business experience and you're entrepreneurial at heart, you know how to manage this stuff. You're kind of like, the director of the opera or whatever that guy's called that's doing the little wand thing you do. And just putting the right, like connecting the right people and putting them in the right place and saying, this is how we're going to do this thing. To me, because I'm very good at that too. Maybe I'm not as good as you because you're doing very, very well in your success. And so for me, I'm like, I need to maybe game up or level up a little more so I could get to AJ status. But it is so crazy to me where you just went from, basically offline to totally online in the technology and crypto space to be like, I'm just going to create a protocol. And here we are. Like
Yeah.
EMP is how old? Like 2 or 3 years now?
Yeah, bro, we're going on our 4 year anniversary actually. So yeah, and you're right, bro. When you say it out loud, like if my future self said, "Hey, you're gonna have three or four now crypto projects and be full time crypto," I would have laughed, man. So yeah, it's really pretty crazy how it does come together. But it's just one step at a time. Like we just have followed. I followed this path, and one thing leads to another, and it leads to another, and it leads to another, and then here you are. Again, I'm a big fan of quotes, as I'm sure you've heard through the interview. But the other quote is like, "How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time." And that's really been the mindset. Like, we follow what's working, we get rid of what isn't, and here we are. And sometimes, I think if there's any criticism, which I love, constructive criticism as well. It's one thing that's really set us apart at EMP and crypto overall. We listen to the feedback of our community. I do think that in some cases we get to a point where we maybe spread a little thin. And so that's one thing I'm working on now is really going back and looking at the fundamentals and focusing on what works and what is, actually the biggest result for the most amount of effort. So that is something again I think I've learned as an entrepreneur, and one of the hardest things for me to do is say no. And so I've really had to learn to say no, and that we can't keep, scaling and diluting our efforts if it's not working. So that's been a big journey for me, even in the last year, really trying to focus in on what's working and really putting all my effort into that. But yeah, man, again, I don't I consider myself the project manager. I don't code, although I can read and write a little bit. You have to be able to be, know that nobody's trying to screw you. But yeah, we've just really built an amazing team. And that's another thing. I mean, being in crypto now over 10 years, the developers that have, a track record and that are trustworthy and that, have been with you from the get-go. I mean, my original dev on EMP, he's been with me from the very beginning. So yeah, all of those things really matter. And if you're getting into crypto now, like I think people still have this skewed view that crypto is buying, an asset and holding it in your wallet. Like that is not really crypto. I mean, that's again a great way to get your foot in the door, but there's so much more here that is powerful. And so I love to be able to educate people about that and show them, that they can be their own bank, and really, set themselves up for the future for sure.
Jeez, yeah, 100%. And let's let me pull this up because I have to share this on screen.
For sure.
And because when I first got introduced to you, AJ, it was basically about EMP and then EMP fusion. And then during that time, then it's like EMP, we're launching a game. And I'm like, a game? What kind of game are we talking about here? Right? It's gonna be called Honor versus Madness. And it's like, okay, so this guy has created multiple protocols. Yes, there were some hurdles to go through. There was some ups and downs in that other, just like any regular business and just like anything offline and in your regular life, there's always going to be bumps and hurdles to go through. And it's like, what how do you just get to this level, AJ? Like this is right here. If you see my screen, AJ, we're looking at essentially the team in Thailand, correct?
Yeah, brother. So yeah, again, there's a bunch of hidden gems in this interview already, but another one that I know is super famous is your network is your net worth, and that has been a huge part of my life, especially in crypto. And yeah, the guy on the right there in the middle, his name is Julius, and he was an original OG in the first protocol EMP, and we worked together on some promotional videos. He's a very talented artist and an animator himself. And, obviously being an artist, and we connected on that level. And we always kept in touch. And, like I said earlier, I had so much success with Splinterlands, which was the first trading card game. And I saw the power there. And even to this day, I'm super involved on that project. But I thought, listen, knowing what I know and knowing how we can really bring this to the masses, he Julius presented me with this idea that he had, and it was just the rest is history, man. I mean, I wasn't really looking to do this quite yet. But when Julius presented his idea, he's the art director, so this vision of a very Halloween inspired atmosphere and all the characters is his baby. And so when he showed me that and said, "Hey, would you be interested in helping me develop this?" And we would do it under the EMP umbrella. I said, absolutely, man, let's do it. So yeah, we rather than trying to reverse engineer a game and try to create something that is like a template or something that we've seen before. It was also really important that we really did something unique. And again, my whole life has been doing stuff that is unique. So we actually blended genres. So it's a trading card game, and it also includes some first person elements as well. So you duel your opponent on top of battling them with their cards. And then yeah, the guy on the right there in that thumbnail, his name is Zen. He is the art director of the studio, and we hired a AAA game studio out of Thailand, and they've worked on big budget films, Pirates of the Caribbean, a bunch of Disney movies, the live version of Dumbo, and Netflix series, and they've also released two of their own games on Steam as well. So we wanted to really go after a studio that can bring it to life. And again, like you said, bro, I'm like the conductor or the orchestrator, just putting all the puzzle pieces together. And here we are. So we've been in development for about 8 months now, and we're hoping to have the first playable alpha ready by the end of the year. So and the other cool part is, we're building kind of a what we call the mothership, but it's more like a conglomerate of all the different crypto businesses that feed each other. So part of the revenue from Universe Madness will also benefit EMP. So we're always trying to have this, flywheel or self healing system that helps everything grow together, so that 1 plus 1 is not 2, 1 plus 1 is 3. So that's really what we're trying to do.
AJ, it's like you're a man on a mission, and you know what? I say stuff like man and woman, but really, what I really always mean by that is human. You're a
For
human
sure.
on a mission because I believe everybody has something special to bring to the world. And it's just like you go from painting a picture for Obama, right, to opening up a brewery in the theater, this, that, and the other, right? Then starting your own crypto project. And then it's like, hey, and now we're bringing out a game that basically is going to be, or possibly, be revealed through Steam and other outlets. But to have a studio that is, doing on the graphics and art and things like that, that has worked with, gigantic films and gigantic companies that produce these films and releases on Netflix and things like that, like, man, this is insane, man. Like, AJ, I don't know if you ever give yourself a pat on the back, but I think you should.
Thank you, brother. Yeah, man. You like I said earlier, I try to stay humble and really, for me, it's just about head down, grinding and not coming up for air until everything is done. And that again, even though, again, in terms of maybe some criticism, is that, we're sometimes we're accused of being serial entrepreneurs, meaning, we're going from one thing to another, but we never give up, man. And that again is the key difference, that everything that we're building moving forward supports what we built in the past. So, and even all the way back to, the art gallery and the theater. I mean, that was a chapter. It served its purpose, and we closed it respectively, and provided an amazing thing for everybody. And even now, we still have the gallery. We are trying to bring on another partner as a managing role so my mom can retire. But yeah, man, we're still, again, everything we've done, EMP, Brewhouse Gallery, Universe Madness. Yes, we may do a lot of things, but we never forget about what we've done in the past year, and that's really important, I think, because you do have that, even just a moral obligation to people, to continue to deliver, and that's weighs on me heavily for sure.
And AJ, just, I mean, I know we could go on for hours. We're not going to go on for hours because you know what? I'm going to have you back on the show eventually, and
For
we're
sure, bro.
going to talk more. And there's probably going to be some more updates or some more, things that you have done that is just astonishing. So we'll talk more about that. But again, the episode is called "Every Setback is a Setup for Your Reign," and I believe that really, you know let's end on this, AJ. We didn't talk about this, but recently you had something very one of your businesses um basically got taken advantage of. And
For
it was,
sure.
in my opinion, it was a gigantic setback. And it was obviously because I talked to you personally, through a private, webinar or Zoom that everybody else was on, and I heard in your voice like how devastating this thing was to you. Um, why don't you tell everybody? You don't need to share the full story, but why don't you just kind of give the gist of it and how you felt, but like what the comeback was? Because really now it's like Me and you talking right now seems like nothing ever happened.
For sure, bro. Yeah, yeah, totally. And I'm happy to go into all this. So, and I think that really sets again us apart. I say us, but the team leadership that I give to the rest of the team, we don't give up. And even though we have major setbacks, which I'll talk about in a second here, the failure is not an option, bro. And again, that is just what has been instilled in me from day one. Like, just literally surviving is what I do. Like again, failure is something that just hasn't ever even entered my brain. And so, whether that's delusional or not, that helps me be successful. And so yeah, we about a month ago, again, crypto is a very interesting place. I still think, it's the wild, wild west. We're building amazing technology, but unfortunately, it is still a bit of a gamble, so to speak, in terms of like, development. I mean, we have all these amazing devs, we have everything in place, but unfortunately, when there's a lot of money at stake, you get the best of the best in the entire world that may have ill intentions involved, and so we were unfortunately exploited by and again we're doing a whole independent study right now, and it goes a lot deeper than we originally thought. So there's definitely some big time hackers that were involved, but we rather than letting that destroy us, and again in full disclosure, it almost did. I mean, we again we it's like having somebody come into your house and rob you. It's like how do you come back from that? And so rather than again just saying oh well, sorry everybody, here's the report with the FBI. See you later. We didn't do that. We said, listen, yes, we're gonna report all this, we're gonna recover, but we actually have to make it right as well. So we put together an incredible recovery program. We had some funds that were still safe, that we were able to put back to work, and now we have a bond program as well where the community is earning and helping not only from earning themselves, but helping pay that recovery fund as well. So, and even the crazy part about all this is the smart contracts and the development work that never even was the exploit. What happened was we were targeted through our servers. So it's funny that Web 2 technology was the exploit vector, not even Web 3, and that just goes to show how powerful Web 3 and trustless technology can be with Web 3. So we've patched all that. Those issues were bulletproof now, and rather than having it be a catastrophic ending, we were able to bounce back, and even now we're about 3 weeks after the issue, and we're already with a higher or right at the same TVL we had prior to that. So what again, my favorite of all these different quotes, what doesn't kill us makes us stronger, right? And that really has happened with what we're doing. And now the silver lining is now we're ready to scale. Like, had we had $100 million, in the protocol and then gotten hacked, that would have been lights out. So now we're good. We're bulletproof, and we're back on track, and we're gonna scale to be one of the biggest DeFi protocols out there. So yeah, bro.
That deserves a round of applause because I mean, AJ, I I forget how much money was compromised or stolen, but I know it was a lot. And it's like if that happened to me, I would I mean, I have a great mindset. I'm way above your average kind of person mindset, but still I would definitely feel like I just got punched in the gut and like is gasping for air, you know?
Yeah,
For
bro. Well, and yeah,
a while.
totally. And like you said, we did a community chat with everybody that was involved. We really tried to set the stage and let everybody know that there was a plan in place, and now we're working that plan. But yeah, I mean, the other part of this is like, we have our own my personal wealth, the protocol wealth, we're utilizing these protocols ourselves. So when we hacked, we're right there with everybody else, and obviously, the incentives align where we're not giving up, and the quicker that we recover, the better it is for everybody, and that's just good business. I think when you are in the trenches, with your users and you are using the products that you have for everybody else, it really gives you an advantage, in terms of being able to deliver product market fit for everybody, and that's where we're at for sure.
I'm going to say something that I believe a lot of people need to perfect in their own life or grow this type of muscle, and it's the awareness muscle, and it's self-awareness, it's awareness about other people, so internal and external awareness. And here's what happened. So as AJ brought up, we were on this call, and I could hear in his voice how much this money being stolen hurt him, because I could hear it in his voice. If you right now, we're all chipper and we're all happy and we're all positive and things like that. But there was this one time on this one call where I could hear in AJ's voice that it was just this gigantic, like Mike Tyson punch to the gut. And I'm like, that's what really made me. I mean, I already believed in you, AJ, and the protocol, but it's just more proof in the pudding that you are involved in this, not only monetarily but emotionally, you
Yeah,
know.
totally,
And
bro.
the reason why I'm bringing up awareness is, if you're a person that can hear what other people are saying and or not saying, and you can hear how they feel, that is going to give you so much more of an advantage in life, so you can navigate your life and your judgment and your reasoning way better than everybody else. Way better.
Yeah, no, bro, I couldn't agree more. And it even boils down to, again, coming full circle as we wrap it up here. I mean, the interpersonal skills are absolutely imperative to success. I think, a lot of times people overlook that. And again, I understand people have, anxiety or maybe aren't as extroverted. They're more introverted. But you really have to be able to relate to people to be successful in business. And again, I mean, that's why what we have two ears and one mouth, right? So it's about listening more than you're speaking, and that has always been something I've done. Even as a kid, my parents would always say, like as a baby, they would say, AJ's so observant. Like I've always just observed the world around me, and then conceptualize that before, speaking or acting. Like, thinking and calculating your moves before you do it, I think is really, really an amazing skill set to try to develop. And all of us can do that, just really, again, internalizing that. So, yeah, that's a really great point, bro. And, at the end of the day, we are in it together. And yeah, I think that really makes it genuine, like we're not here just saying something and doing another. That's another really cool part about blockchain as well, is that everything is transparent. Like, if we were, getting on AMAs and saying we were hacked and people were able to see on chain, that the money was in my bank, like that is a problem, but again, the transparency that blockchain brings is allows us to be even more transparent, and that strengthens the conviction of everybody else overall. And so those are some really unique things that are only possible in crypto. And it's really cool to be able to do that. And again, one of the things that drew me to crypto to begin with. But yeah, man, it means a lot that you were able to really feel that genuineness in what we're doing for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, man, totally. 100% AJ, 100%. Look, we could go on for hours because we've dropped, I believe AJ, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe we dropped way more than enough alpha here.
Yes, brother. I know. Yeah. Again, we're in the crypto world. Alpha is king. So yeah, man. We did. I think it was an amazing experience talking to you. It's something we've been planning for a while. I know you've been really excited to get this podcast up and running, and the whole mantra behind what you're doing, I think is really powerful, and it resonated with me immediately when you sent me the name of the podcast. I was like, man, Christian. He gets it, bro. Yeah, totally. You get it, man.
Rest of your lifetime, it's an acronym, and sooner or later we will have, I had this idea about this podcast and basically the brand name and the acronym a long time ago, and I'm just like, man, I just feel like we could do some really big things with this. And so, be on the lookout for a site coming out and potentially some merch and really cool things like that, that is really more on the inspirational side of merch, and with cool quotes and sayings and things like that, that will have people stop you and be like, dude, I love that jacket, I love that shirt, I love that sweater, I love that hat, because I really believe, AJ, that we need more people like you and I in this world that are singing from the rooftops about, positivity, inspiration, things like that. Yes, we have Gary Vee. Yes, we have Grant Cardone. Yes, we have, all these other people. What's the other guy? And David Goggins. We have all these people, but it's like really the power of the less known people or the micro influencers or the smaller time people are really is what's going to move this world in a faster pace, 100%.
Yeah, bro, absolutely. And again, anybody watching this, that's another cool aspect of my life in general. Like, people say that, I maybe inspire them or that it's inspirational. And I take that to heart, bro. I love that. Like, again, what I said earlier, it wasn't about diminishing what I've accomplished in life. It's really, again, about showing that anybody can do it. And I think you're right, Christian. I mean, if you don't have to be super rich and famous. If each and every one of us just started to implement some of the things that we talked about today, you can have a lot more, success in your life. And that doesn't necessarily mean a bigger bank account or, a bigger house. It just means better relationships, happier, mental health, all of the above, bro. So yeah, it's been a great hour with you, man. I want to do it again. I hope you have me back. Yeah.
100%. AJ, before we take off, is
Yeah.
there any uh how can people get a hold of you? Do you have a website? Is there somewhere you want people to be directed, so I could also leave the link under this video too?
Yeah, absolutely, bro. So I've been so busy lately that I'm not on social media as much. But I am on Facebook. But you can shoot me an email. My email is me@ajbrockman.com. And all of our other that's for me personally, or on X. I'm also a lot more active now on X. It's I believe it's Brockman underscore AJ. On X, we'll make sure to post the links. And then any of the protocols. So EMP, Universe Madness, or Dex Finance. If you Google any of those, it'll show you all the socials and the protocols themselves. So yeah, man, I really appreciate it, bro. My door is always open to anybody, so feel free to reach out. And Christian, again, man, really great to catch up with you, and appreciate all that you're doing, bro.
Thank you, brother. I
Yeah.
appreciate you too. I really appreciate your time. I'm gonna put all your links and all that information you just gave me underneath this video, so anybody watching or listening to this can get to that. And if you're listening on a some sort of streaming service, that it'll be there too. And make sure you like, comment, and subscribe as well. AJ, super appreciate you, and we'll catch up very soon.
Cheers, brother. All right.